should Wout van Aert be doing the Giro d'Italia 2023?
I think he should work from the back. So if the goal is to win Worlds, you shouldn't do the Tour. You should prep. Well, Remco won the Worlds after the Vuelta, so, whatever. But you'd think you wouldn't do the Tour and then Worlds. Like Ganna, I don't think will do Tour Worlds. He'll do Giro Worlds. But then if you do the Giro, how does that pair with? He can't do Omloop and E3 and Roubaix, RVV and Giro. That's too long a peak, right? So he'd have to. Well, he just won Omloop, so that's not a big issue. Does he do Strada? Probably. Like he needs to start his season pretty late. Tirreno, then Classics. It's a weird mix. It depends. It's sort of a mixed. To be honest, like I was going to say, there's one opportunity if you want to have a real crack at GC to see where you can go in a Grand Tour GC, just try it at the Giro, but then it's not the parcours for it. 5,500 meter stages, 3 of them to altitude. Like the Vuelta was. Yeah, there's prairies. Yeah. But the Vuelta was the sort of one to try that as a heavier guy. So I think he can win the points jersey. He can win loads of stages. He can wear the Maglia Rosa for quite a while, I think. Is that appealing enough to him? Do Jumbo need him for the Tour? Because, Hautacam, the threat. Pogacar does not like Wout being up the road. That is clear. It makes him, I think, he's thinking about it and it's influencing his decisions. So can Jumbo even afford to have Van Aert do the Giro? I don't know. If it had been these TTKs, Benji, and not these hectic mountain stages, maybe last year's, maybe. But to be honest, he hasn't even gone for GC in World Tour races since Tirreno last year, where he came 2nd or 3rd. So that would be where you'd start. But this show, as always, is brought to you by Zwift. Whether you're just starting out on your cycling journey or are looking for those final tune-ups ahead of a big event or race, Zwift is the online cycling platform that makes things fun, as well as being the named sponsor of the Tour de France Femme avec Zwift and this podcast. If you want to find out more about Zwift, the platform, the race, go to Zwift.com, and if you want to try it out, you can get a free 7-day trial.
I also just have the feeling about Wout van Aert, like we're talking about Worlds being a goal of him, but I see Roubaix and RVV as the 2 biggest goals of the season still for Wout van Aert. And having that before the Giro, you can peak for Roubaix and RVV, but will you be able to keep that form into the Giro? Perhaps not. We saw Van der Poel not being at his best at the Giro, still being able to compete at the Giro. But I find it hard to combine Classics and Giro, and that's a recurring theme with riders that they skip the Giro after doing the Classics, for example, and then return to the Tour de France and then do Worlds afterwards. Now, Worlds is in a different place, so I still think you can do Tour and Worlds with Worlds afterwards. It's close together to keep that form in there, but will you be tired from the Tour? Yes, you will. Some riders handle that well, some riders will not handle that well, but my factor here is as well, the thing you said, I think Jumbo will need Wout van Aert in the Tour de France.
Also, he can't base his whole season around the World's Road Race because he can't demand leadership. How can you base a lot of your season's decisions around a race where, at best, you're 50-50 co-leader with Remco next year? So you got to do what's best for you and probably run it back. Like Bonin was saying, he didn't win a monument, so RVV Roubaix, Tour de France, run it back, go Worlds. I do think Mads Pedersen should do the Giro. I really do. I think he won 3 Vuelta stages. He's won a Tour de France stage. I think he can win the points jersey at the Giro. I think he's got a really nice team with Kirsch, bring Edward Turns for God's sake, with Ciccone and the others that can do the climbing things. Juanpe has to Giro. I think Pedersen should do it. He can win points jersey and at least 2 stages. And Philipsen,
Tour de France,
Groves does the Giro, right?
Yeah. I agree as well, because Philipsen is the higher up when it comes to Alpecin at the moment. Merlier's gone, so Gross takes the Giro is my take on that. Who does the Vuelta depends afterwards, on what we've seen in the first two Grand Tours. If they both finish the first two Grand Tours, that's a take that we can have afterwards. But I agree with you on most of that. To be honest, I just don't want to see Wout van Aert do the Giro. And I want to see it for the spectacle, but I feel like I want to see him do the classics at full force. And like, let's say when it comes to GC in the Giro, I think he can't do that because he needs to properly work for that, and that would ruin his classics. I don't think he can combine classics with GC Giro.
How the fuck can you lose 4 kilos or something to be like trying to get to this weight that is completely unsustainable because he's so tall and muscular? But you're doing that whilst like the same training period when Ayuso's at altitude, you're doing Roubaix. Roubaix, like, you're right. When you put it like that, it doesn't make sense. I'd like to see him do a Paris-Nice GC or something if it's a soft Paris-Nice, something like that is where to start with it.